expecting to do this today, but I'm glad I am. Thank you, Gail. Very much appreciate it, Vaughan. Basically, I grew up in Edwardstown in South Australia, and my father was a telecommunications officer for about 40 years. He was actually an ASIO operative during that time, and he did a lot of line tapping. And he was a Freemason. My family, the McIntyres, I'm obviously Vaughan is my married name, the McIntyres come from a long line of Freemasons. My great grandfather apparently was a Templar, so or of that order, so quite a high-ranking Freemason. I'll speak louder.
Yeah. Sorry,
we've got a microphone down.
Sorry,
yeah. I'll speak slowly too, and I'll speak very, very quickly.
Yeah, that's good. Just like that's nice. Just up a bit.
Basically, my father was involved with child torture, child murder, kidnapping, child sex abuse, child porn, and he also, quite horrific. He trafficked in human flesh as well. So that's, I won't go too much into that today because it's pretty horrific and most people can't handle it. Unfortunately, that's just the sort of thing that was happening around me as I was growing up. My siblings went through it as well. I've given several pretty intense interviews over the last couple of years. I did try for 12 years prior to that to have my case properly investigated by every statutory body, by South Australian Police, by Federal Police. Nobody would touch it. And as my memories sort of, over that period, my memories grew, so I started making allegations in 2006, and originally it was just purely that I'd been sexually abused by my father and I wanted to investigate it. That didn't go anywhere, and then I was triggered by the way I was being treated by these government departments, by the police, and they just were they were cruel. It wasn't just, oh, you're just mentally unwell and we don't want to deal with it, or you don't have enough proof that your father abused you, and that also leads me into the fact that I have two siblings who were also abused by him. So there were three of us making allegations. They were heinous allegations. We have medical documentation to back up those allegations, but they still wouldn't, they wouldn't look into him. So eventually he died in 2017. After that, I was so incensed, I just thought, okay, well, I'll just have to go public because there's no other way I'm going to be able to do it. Obviously, local media wouldn't touch it because, sadly, the media here in South Australia is very well owned and very much Freemason based. And I was sexually abused at Channel 9 Studios when I was a small child. So, it's pretty horrific. And I was an innocent child. So basically, I was forced to go international. My partner kept saying to me, "You can't do this locally; it has to be international." So that's when I contacted the International Tribunal for Natural Justice, and they were amazing. Helped me and a lot of other people, and that's when they did their human trafficking series, which was in 2018. Since then, I've given other interviews, Sean Atwood, and some local, sort of more Australian. Centred, so Jeff O'Toole, and I'll be doing lives with Jeff O'Toole on the We Are Change Melbourne site. Dale Holmes is amazing, he just has a YouTube channel taken down. Just telling the truth, and nobody likes that. And a lot of people are being deplatformed at the moment, obviously. So I guess the main thing just today is just to talk to you all and just show you that I've got an enormous amount of evidence. I've got medical certification. I've got the research that I've done over the last couple of years, and I've spent countless hours trying to find out. This is alright.
It dropped out and then reconnected itself, so we've got to meet everyone again.
Yeah, we just lost our Zoom, but they come back.
Oh, that's very timely.
Yes, it was actually. I thought that myself. Exactly right.
Yeah.
Is that Chris Massey?
Yes.
Hello, Chris.
Hello, Rachel.
How you going? I thought I'd see you today.
Yeah, we love our Chris. There he is.
Back to it. I have all the research that I put together over the last couple of years of the tunnels under Edwardstown. So a lot of the abuse that took place underground, and that's a common tactic with these abusers. They'll do it in places where if you make allegations, oh, they don't exist, or that doesn't exist. So the McNutt Preston case is another very good example. That was over in America. So if basically, there's countless cases actually of tunnels underground where children are abused, and they can just say they don't exist. Well, I've proven that it does exist. I've found a series of what I believe are the openings. The Wunderlich's terracotta tile factory had a series of brick kilns and terracotta roofing tile kilns built in Edwardstown in the early 1900s. And as they built, or as they dug out the clay, it was a huge deposit of clay in the area. As they dug out the clay, they built the kilns at that lower level. Later on, they brought filling and covered the kilns up, and they became the bunkers, which then had tunnels created to turn them. Just prior to World War II, the tunnels, the kilns were turned into bunkers with the addition of concrete. They had to have tunnels because everybody had to have a tunnel, a trench or bunker within 20 feet of their backyard in those days. So, I mean, the whole of Adelaide was crisscrossed with tunnels. So that's the history of where these tunnels came from. I can even show in street directories at the time how the street that I grew up in Edwardstown on Macklin Street, it got cut off at one point where the tunnel was actually put across it in that time frame. So I've got an enormous amount of evidence, and I've put it all together in a PDF. I've put quite a few together, but this is probably the most comprehensive. So I'm trying to get that published at the moment. The two people that I've given it to, I think they're too scared to publish it because some of the information in there, the locations are, it's a worry. Because people still own these properties, and God knows what sort of libel they might get involved in. So I'm instead disseminating that information privately. So if anybody's interested, I'll probably put up my email address, and you can just send me an email if you want to read it. It's 17 pages long, it's very long, but at least then you'll know some of the information about how to. I mean, these tunnels are everywhere. They're everywhere in Adelaide. So it's not just in Edwardstown, they're everywhere.
Is there anything we can look out for, so like that's obvious to other?
Commissary tunnels. So the telecom tunnels, so Telecom, or what it was, Telstra back, Telecom, sorry, it's now Telstra, that's who my father worked for. They have tunnels on every main street and every main road in Australia. And you can see they're basically just these metal plates. There's usually a series of 2 metal plates or 4 metal plates or sometimes 6. The number of plates indicates the size of the tunnel beneath.
Okay.
I wouldn't suggest people just open them up and go in. But if you shine a torch through one hole, there's usually 2 holes for each plate so that they can pull them out. Shine a torch in one hole, look in the other, and you'll often find there's a tunnel and there's a ladder, and you can see it's quite a large space. So it's usually about 6 foot deep and about, I don't know, up to 2 metres across, if not, maybe smaller, maybe larger, depending on the number of plates there. So they're everywhere. Interestingly, I've found a couple of locations where they are only, well, they're actually on suburban streets, but it's very rare. So unless there's businesses in the area or it's a main road, you won't find these plates, you won't find these tunnels, except in Edwardstown and Glandore and a couple of other locations that are in the country that I've found. So, and I was just told by someone, gave me some information that there are these Telstra pits, they call them pits, and apparently in Edwardstown, they're the largest ones in the Adelaide area. That was told to me by somebody previously, and someone's confirmed that again. So these pits are huge, and the PDF that I've got, I've actually got a quote from somebody who's a friend who used to ride through these tunnels himself. And the more I talk about it, the more people come forward and say, well, I was in those tunnels as a child, or I know where there's an opening. There's a really large opening at the Morphettville Racecourse. You can just look through, it's at the Bray Street end. You can just look on Google Earth and see it. You can drive a car through that. There's double razor wires, so you can't get in there now. But that's an obvious opening very close to where I grew up. There's
right next to the train station as well, next to a train line.
Yeah, and they're often by the train line. Yeah, so these tunnels often, they're walkable, they're all by the train lines for easy access. And interestingly, there's a void in the platform at the Edwardstown railway station just opposite Maxwell Avenue, and I came out of a tunnel in that area in the 80s, and I discovered in the 2018 when I went there with the filmmaker that it's still there. Not exactly as I remembered it, but it has a galvanised iron backing, which could be peeled away. I mean, it's not fast fixed, and there's a bunch of soil piled up against it, and I believe that's where I came out from a walkable tunnel as a child. So that opening was still there. There was an upgrade to the platform shortly after I started speaking about it openly. So it might not be that way anymore, but the Edwardstown railway station landscaping is actually the responsibility of the Edwardstown Freemasons. So it's a very convoluted story, obviously, a lot to go on. My father was involved in the disappearance of the Vaughan children. That's been established, very well established. There was even a diary. on Glenelg Beach with a series of other people of interest just prior to their disappearance. People just keep coming forward to me on a regular basis with information about that. I also was witness to two other high-profile missing children. One was murdered in front of me, and there was another one who was abused in front of me. And someone else is sitting in jail for both of those. So, you know, there's patsies everywhere. There's so many cover-ups going on. It's just insane. So, yeah, that's pretty much my story.
You're
in a
an
nutshell.
amazing, brave woman.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing.